for example, the raw water to Amman. We are pumping this 1,400 meter up. You can imagine, for example, how much energy is used, for example, to have 1 cubic meter water in Amman for distribution. So it's good, for example, to see where is the partition in the country, but also the right one, for example, which stations are important. Because it's not important, for example, to start with the small consumers, but it's important to start with the major consumers. Here, and this is at that time Zai. Amman has 2 big stations. It's called Zai and Zaramain. Zaramain is captured. Zaramain is capturing the water from the Dead Sea, from all these rivers, desalinating them and pumping them back to Amman. And the second is from King Abdullah Canal, pumping up to Amman from the north side. Especially on the major pumping station, even 1 to 3% is important energy what we can save, for example. And therefore, it was the idea, for example, to look where we can save it. So it's important, for example, to get an overview of the country. If you have to do an energy audit for your whole utility, where are the major consumers, and then focus on the major consumers. Here is the location in the country. So what is our system? It's interesting. For example, I was working in one project as a project manager, and I was given, for example, all the experts, and electrical engineer was coming to me. And they thought, for example, that the electrical engineer is important for energy saving. But, sorry to say this, for example, the potential is in the pump. The potential of energy saving is in the pump. The motor, for example, the motor, we can change now the motors. We have more high efficient motor, but hardly you will change the motor. When you change the whole set. Therefore, I like to guide you, for example, when we do this energy audit, for example, we have to look to the working condition of the pump. But nevertheless, we have to see, I want to explain the whole system. We have the electrical power input. Sometimes we have frequency regulations. We have the motor, we have the pump. And at the end, for example, we transfer the energy, the electrical energy, into pressure and flow. Pressure and discharge. For example, this is what we want. This is a task of the pumping station in order to give the water the required pressure. We have the measurements on the power input. We can measure the kilowatt. We can measure the current. On the output, we have to measure the pressure and the flow, pressure and bar and the flow. And the efficiency is the output energy divided by the input energy. The output energy is the hydraulic energy, what we give to the water. The input is electric energy, what we take from the grid. And it's important to have a good efficiency. At the bottom, it's indicated, for example, now huge motors with the high classes, they should have 95% efficiency, the motors, and the pumps, for example, good pumps could have 87, 89% efficiency. But this depends on the type of the pumps. And especially, for example, we have to see, for example, if this is an individual pump for the best efficiency. But very often we have to operate pumping stations with 1, 2, 3 pumps. We have to cover the day and night supply. And we have to see how we can do this in the best way. And therefore, often we don't reach this high efficiency of an individual pump. We have to see the overall efficiency of the pumping station. And even in Hamburg, for example, when we are 70, 75% achieved in some of the pumping stations, we are happy. If you have a pumping station with stable conditions, for example, stable geodetic head, for example, then we can have high efficiency. But if there is a huge variation in pressure and flow, we have to accept different conditions. Okay. Performance indicators. Performance indicators, what we are using, for example, is important, the efficiency of the pump is a good performance indicator, or a pumping station. We can also have the whole pumping station. We don't look to the details. We see the hydraulic output of the water, if it's created from 1 or 5 pumps, doesn't matter, and the energy input. We have the idea from the pumping station. If we know 35%, that's okay. We can have also the specific efficiency by meter head, pumped by meter head, because kilowatt per cubic meter doesn't say anything. This power capacity performance indicators, kilowatt per cubic meter doesn't say anything, but it depends on the height where we are pumping. For example, it's good, for example, to follow up, for example, as a value if the pumps are still working in good condition, but if we really want to compare pumping stations, we have to divide this by the meter head pumped. In the guidelines, it was indicated, for example, we should have energy checks, energy analysis, and energy audits. From my understanding, the energy checks should be included in the daily operation sheets, for example. It should be in Hamburg, for example, with the SCADA system. Every day we have already, for example, at the end of the day, we have know what is the efficiency, our operators comparing yesterday and today, and see if it's continuing. Analysis should be regularly devised by the technicians, not only the energy, but also the inspection of the pumps, the bearings, and these things. And the audit is done every 2 to 4 years. For example, our case in Hamburg, for example, our engineers, they are moving around. We have about 18 pumping stations. They're moving around and tapping the different pumping stations in order to prepare the investments. And why the potential? Why the potential is in the pump? For example, for the engineers, maybe it's known. For example, here you have your curve. For example, here is the flow, and here is the head. And this is the operation point. This is the operation point of the pump. You have the pump curve. You have the pump curve, and the pump has one point where there's the best operation. Number 1, for example, when the pump is working on this operation point, the pump has a long lifetime. If we move to the left or to right, we already reduce the lifetime of the pump by cavitation, for example. Cavitation is destroying, for example, your impeller. Therefore, it's from the technical point also important to keep the pump on this point, but also this is the best efficiency. If we move to the left and right, for example, because the pressure in the system is dropping, the efficiency is going down, for example. Therefore, this picture, you should always remember, this should be the first picture when you are looking, go to the pump, ask for the documentation from the manufacturer, compare the actual situation with the original data, compare if the point is still working. Therefore, for example, there is a potential to analyze energy efficiency. And if you did these first analysis, for example, at the final, for example, the audit should be done with also financial evaluation. How we did the financial evaluation, you give me only 2 minutes more. For example, we made a curve, for example, with the investment. For example, when we have to invest in the motor, for example, there is a certain kilowatt rated, for example, and we see already the cost as a first guideline. You can do this for your country to calculate the investment when you want to replace the pump. Knowing, for example, that you should have a larger units 80%, smaller units 70% for the investment. And finally, for example, what we prepared a evaluation table. Here this was for the Jordan, a priority list for the different areas. And there you see the data what we collected. From left to right, we collected the flow, we collected the kilowatts, we calculated the specific energy, we calculated the efficiency. The yellow one is the cost saving. The energy saving is the yellow one, then the saving in cost, Jordan dinar. Then we put, for example, the rated power, what is needed to replace the pumps, the investment cost, the payback period, and the specific investments saving Jordan per kilowatt, Jordanian dinar per kilowatt. And we did a ranking from 1 to 5. So you can decide, for example, what criteria you want. You want to take the payback period as a criteria, or you want to take the money saved per kilowatt. This is another criteria. And once you have this table, for example, you can use this as a management tool, for example, in order to make proposals for the budget. Maybe you do this in 2015, make proposals for the budget 2016. We in the water supply area, we are working normally through the budgets, for example. And once, for example, you have this decision, you can go give this to the management, and the management can decide, or you can convince the management in order to do pump replacements. Definitely also taking into consideration what is the condition of the pumps, what has to be replaced, for example, in order to secure your production. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lenge. I think we will skip the clarification question and we'll leave it to the end of the session for the discussion. By the way, Mr. Lenge is appointed as a consultant for the Energy Task Force to carry out the pilot studies. So let's move to the next presentation. It's about the energy checks and analysis at SONEDE. It will be presented by Mr. Khalid Zabar from SONEDE.
This one?
So the presentation is in French, but we will try to have translation.
Okay.
Donc, bonjour, je me présente, Khalid Zabar, je suis ingénieur principal en génie électrique. Je suis en train actuellement aussi de préparer ma thèse de doctorat en énergie renouvelable, en particulier sur les plateformes flottantes photovoltaïques.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Khalid Zabar is electrical engineer in SONEDE. SONEDE is the national utility for water supply in Tunisia, and also he is preparing his PhD in energy saving.
Je suis actuellement chef de la division maîtrise de l'énergie électrique à la SONEDE. Et donc, je présente, ma présentation s'intitule Action de contrôle et d'analyse énergétique à la SONEDE.
Mr. Khalid is responsible for the energy efficiency department in SONEDE, and his presentation is about energy checks and audits in SONEDE.
Donc, je vais exposer la consommation en énergie à la SONEDE, ensuite le bilan des actions de maîtrise de l'énergie, résumé des actions, les résultats, puis les exemples d'actions de maîtrise d'énergie, perspectives énergétiques futures, la problématique énergétique future et le plan de maîtrise de l'énergie 2015-2030.
So the plan of the presentation is on four axes. The first one is post energy consumption in SONEDE. The second one is about the actions to control energy consumption, some examples, and also perspectives for the future.
Donc, la SONEDE elle est considérée comme l'un des plus gros consommateurs d'énergie en Tunisie. En effet, sa consommation elle a atteint en 2014 370 gigawattheures d'électricité et l'équivalent de 27 millions d'euros, soit 23% du chiffre d'affaires de la SONEDE, pour le fonctionnement de 1300 stations de production et de pompage d'eau.
SONEDE in Tunisia is the biggest energy consumer. In 2014, the consumption was about 370 gigawatt hour, and the main consumption centers are mainly pumping stations for water production around 1,300.
Donc la SONED a réalisé depuis plusieurs années plusieurs actions visant la maîtrise des coûts de l'énergie, essentiellement à travers le choix judicieux de la tarification d'électricité, l'optimisation du pompage suivant la tarification à poste horaire, le renforcement des opérations de diagnostic énergétique, l'acquisition des équipements de plus en plus performants, le renforcement de la composante énergétique dans le choix du mode d'alimentation en eau potable, l'amélioration des processus de production d'eau, la mise à niveau énergétique de plusieurs stations de pompage, l'introduction des énergies renouvelables et la formation continue sur les techniques de maîtrise de l'énergie, l'information sur les bonnes pratiques de maîtrise de l'énergie.
Now, here there are some actions achieved or undertaken by SONED during the last 2 decades to control energy consumption. Some I will not go through all of them. Some are linked to water to energy tariffs. Tariffs is different during the day during the consumption period. Rehabilitation. Some actions related to the facilities, the rehabilitations, and the technical checks of the pumping stations. Some are linked to the water production, improving the water production process, and also some other actions are linked to the capacity building of the staff, linked to different kind of technical training and also managerial training regarding energy checks. And also SONED introduced renewable energy in its energy mix. And I think that's all.
Donc la puissance de ces actions, elle a évolué avec le temps depuis, disons, 97 jusqu'à aujourd'hui, en fonction de l'évolution du tarif de l'énergie. Donc on a eu déjà une transition énergétique en 2004 avec l'évolution, la grande évolution du prix du pétrole. Donc vous remarquez qu'il y a eu au départ une focalisation sur l'optimisation du pompage, donc l'optimisation tarifaire. Puis en 2004, donc, nous avons passé à l'étape de l'efficacité énergétique, c'est-à-dire la réduction de la consommation d'énergie dans les différents processus. Actuellement, on va entamer une nouvelle transition vers les énergies renouvelables.
So SONED has gone through different main periods regarding energy costs and energy consumption, because the tariffs are mainly linked to the international cost of oil. For instance, there was a big shift during the late of the 90s and the first of the year 2000. Trying to control mainly the consumption period during the day to reduce the financial impact, and also during the last decade progress shifting vers renewable energy.
Okay. Donc je présente quelques indicateurs. Donc le premier indicateur, c'est la consommation spécifique en watt-heure par mètre cube. Donc ici on voit bien l'évolution depuis 1998 jusqu'à 2014. En effet, cette évolution est le résultat de la superposition de deux actions. La première, c'est l'installation de nouveaux projets gros consommateurs d'énergie, par exemple les stations de dessalement ou le transfert à grande distance. On sait qu'en Tunisie, nous sommes au-dessous de la pauvreté hydrique, avec un déséquilibre important entre disparités régionales. Et donc, la deuxième action, c'est la mise en place d'un programme d'efficacité énergétique progressivement.
So in this graph, we can see the specific consumption of energy in watt-hour per cubic meter. And we can see clearly that there was at the beginning a big increase mainly the result mainly of big investment for water transfer from one region to other. It's specific because the water scarcity and the transportation of water from one region to another one, and also introduction of desalination projects. And we can also the other decrease, it's mainly the result of or the benefit of the energy efficiency program.
Donc la deuxième action, c'est la réduction du coût de l'énergie, c'est-à-dire l'optimisation à travers l'optimisation du choix de contrat, la tarification, la réduction de la puissance souscrite, l'optimisation du pompage suivant les postes horaires. Donc, par exemple, ici, nous avons une tarification à 3 postes horaires avec on voit bien à côté, à droite. Donc, on est en train de réduire notre puissance appelée, ça c'est la courbe de charge de la sonnette en mégawatts. Donc, on voit bien que l'appel en puissance dans la zone, dans le poste à coût élevé est minimal. Donc, oui.
This slide, it shows it's mainly linked to the energy costs linked to the tariff. And here the main message is to really have the good contract with the utility, the power company, mainly regarding the pumping hours. At the right, we can see during the day the different tariffs during the day, and SONED, they try to reduce the energy consumption during the peak period and to reduce the financial impact.
Okay. Donc à gauche, on voit bien une réduction du coût de l'électricité. Bien sûr, on n'a pas tenu compte de l'évolution des prix de l'électricité. Donc on a pris comme une seule base. Donc on voit bien qu'on a eu une importante chute au niveau des prix de l'électricité.
And the graph in the left, it shows the decrease in the financial impact. Here we don't take in account the international fluctuation of the oil price. And we can see a very important decrease.
Donc ce programme, il a été appliqué pour les 1300 stations de
It was
la Sonde.
applied for all pumping stations, the 1,300 pumping stations in SONED.
Bon, ici je présente quelques exemples d'actions. Donc ça concerne les audits énergétiques internes des grandes stations. Donc ici ce sont deux grands sites. Celui à gauche, c'est le site qui alimente la capitale. Donc c'est un gros consommateur d'énergie. On voit bien que nous avons fait les analyses énergétiques. On trouve bien que les performances se situent entre 78 et 80%. Donc ce sont des bons rendements. Même en fonctionnement en parallèle, on obtient 78%. Ce sont des équipements qui ont été installés en 2009 et leurs performances se maintiennent jusqu'à aujourd'hui. Donc celui à gauche.
Here we have specific examples from the biggest station, pumping stations in SONED. The one in the left is the pumping station in Gdir al-Gulla. It's the main station supplying the capital, Tunis. And we can see we have proceeded to energy auditing, energy analysis and energy auditing. And we have very important efficiency, 78 and between 78 and 80% with the 5 pumping stations. Even they are put in parallel, we have 78%. And the performance was kept stable between 2009 and 2015.
Donc le deuxième cas, c'est le complexe de Billi, qui est un grand complexe, le deuxième grand complexe du pays. Et donc il alimente une grande zone du Sahel et jusqu'à Sfax, le Gabon. Donc il est constitué essentiellement de 2 grandes stations. On voit bien que les performances énergétiques pour cette gamme de puissance qui est pratiquement équivalente à celle de gauche. Nous sommes à une performance qui varie entre 57 et 64. Et pour la deuxième station, c'est entre 60 et 78. Donc c'est vraiment c'est peu pour cette gamme de puissance. Et donc l'action elle a déjà été entamée avec un appel d'offres pour la mise à niveau des équipements avec des équipements de meilleure performance.